Isaac Chamberlain is an unsung hero in this sport. He's gone through a lot, and I've known Isaac since he was sparring with the likes of Deontay Wilder and Alexander Usyk, and he was struggling to sort of get going. And I think that probably that Lawrence Okoli fight came a bit soon. I think so. I was sort of questioning after Deon Juma whether he needed, one or two more fights. But I think that the manner of victory last time out, the body shot, against Fabio Turchi was just. He's ready.
Is Lawrence going to be coming to Sky Sports Boxer? Is that something that you can comment on or not?
Jordan Thompson's a friend of mine as well, so I was always talking to Eddie about him. And I think first of all on the card, yes, I mean the Saudis had the global rights, and there's a lot of different factors, different partners involved. Obviously, Matchroom would want fighters. Usyk's team will want fighters. 258 management. Yeah. But I believe Ben Whitaker is going to be on the card now, so that's great.
October Red Boxing here with the lovely Mr. Adam Smith. Adam, I know that you're all talked out, and I'll try and keep this as brief as possible, but first of all, welcome back. It's been a while since we spoke.
Yeah, nice to see you again, and thank you for hanging around. It's been a few interviews. It's been a busy week. I've actually been on holiday, and obviously AJ and Usyk was announced, and Liam Smith, and then we've got this big show in Bournemouth. We've got a huge start to September, so lots happening in the boxing world. I also did a bit of darts in the match fair a couple of weeks ago, so it's been it's been hectic times. So sorry I haven't got too early.
It's one of them, but we're here now. What I will say is what a really good turnout from the public today at this public workout. Really good location, good weather, and there were lots of people.
It's fantastic, isn't it, going around the country and sort of going into pockets where the fans come out. Chris has asked everybody for this opportunity for a long time. I know he's mentioned it to Shane time and again. He's mentioned it to me time and again. We were in the bubble for one of his fights, or I think he was fighting or he was assisting training, but we were in the bubble for in the pandemic for a couple of days together. Spent a lot of time, and he always wanted to come down to Bournemouth and bring the fans something to sort of cheer about the boxing brigade. Steve Bendel's this way, Joe Pigford's down here, obviously in Southampton. So it's great, and I think we're going to get a fantastic atmosphere on Saturday. It's brilliant seeing the turnout here at a really novel event, seeing the press conference and the workouts, and on a beach. Hats off to Boxer for something different. Really impressive, and I think it's going to be a great atmosphere on the night. And I think it's wonderful that the fans can come down here. It's sunny, it's the summer, they can have an ice cream, mess around on the beach, dip their toes in the water, and see a weigh-in tomorrow and a big fight night on Saturday. And it's something for them to get their teeth into and to remember.
Something definitely to get the teeth into. I'd say that's an accurate description, because we haven't just got the headline. We've got obviously Fraser Clark going into fight number 2 after a bit of heavy criticism for his opponent for his first fight. I think he feels he's got maybe something to prove, a statement to make to his fans.
That's it, and they've got the opponent that fought Jarrell Miller the other week, who's pretty tough and durable. He gave Jarrell plenty to think about as well. So Fraser's not holding back in this. I think they felt the first time around, the Jake Darnell fight was obviously levels, big levels, and I think this time they wanted to make sure that John Wischusen and the team worked hard to get somebody that was really competitive in front of him for a second fight. Very difficult to match early, and especially with these elite amateurs that want to move quickly and really should move quickly. I mean, we all think that Lauren Price might be able to win a world title, in a number of weeks, let alone months. But you've got to sort of get them used to professional boxing. So it's difficult and very hard to match early, but. Very pleased that Fraser's on the bill. He's done a lot of work with us behind the scenes on the punditry side, and he's very good at it. But it's great to see him back in the ring. He's got his dreams and ambitions, and wonderful to see Ben Whitaker make his much anticipated debut. He was the final Olympian to be signed up. He believes he's the best. He believes he's the character, the personality, and the talented one to take British boxing forward. He's a Marmite character. He's brash. He's flash. He's got the skills to back it up. I think he's going to be terrific, and he's got utter dedication as well. And he's got Sugar Hill with him. I think Ben Whitaker's going to have a real ride, a real journey. And of course, the one I always talk about, the one I've got a massive soft spot for, is Caroline Dubois. And I think that she's going to transcend boxing. I think she's really very, very good. And I think that you won't really see that at this level. But as soon as she's knocking on the door for world titles, I think she's going to be absolutely fabulous. And I know she looks up to Clarissa Shields, for example, what Clarissa's done in America. I think Caroline, along with this whole stable that Shane's had, along with Adam Azim and everybody that's coming through, it's exciting times for Caroline. So yeah, it's great. Joe Pigford on the card as well, Mikel Lowell, Hassan Azim, great times.
We talk about fighters being hard to match. Fraser's one of them that I think has come up against it. You've said that, you've mentioned that. Let us, us the viewers, us the fans, understand a little bit about why it's hard to match these Olympians.
Well, I think the Olympians, and I noticed this really in London 2012,
okay,
and because I was lucky enough to mentor Savannah Marshall after that, and I worked very closely with Luke Campbell, Anthony Ogogo, Anthony Joshua, obviously, Casey Taylor, various others, and I think what I noticed was that a lot of the ones that are around the Team GB or the Irish setup it was almost like they were professionals already. They had conditioners, trainers, they had a whole pool of talent. They were sparring elite fighters, and they almost were, they became professionals, but they were professional. So I think it's got even better over the years. So that's why you're seeing the success in Tokyo. All of them could have medaled. It was obviously you need a bit of luck to medal, and Caroline was really unlucky, and I thought she would. And one or two got gold and silver, etc. But I think there were 6 medalists, and there could have been 12. They're all elite amateurs. They're really very, very good. That's why it's harder, I think, now to match them, to get the elite amateurs into professional boxing and give them. So you're jumping down in standards. They fought all around the world. They're jumping down in standards, but they're doing it under the lights with more pressure on them. They're doing it for pay. They're doing it with no head guards. They're doing it with lighter gloves. They've got to get used to that. And I think that they'll all get used to it very quickly. So I'm looking at, hopefully, Boxer or putting pressure on Ben to match them harder, maybe, than we would have done a few years ago.
Yeah, because we see, sometimes I think we think, kind of like you said, with the matchmaking process, we think, okay, put them into those real hard fights to start off with because of their pedigree, because of their level of experience, and then obviously sparring. Fraser Clark's been in the gym with Anthony Joshua. He's already sparring high-level fighters. So why not then push them through and make them have those harder fights to start off with? The fans, we get like that. We are very fickle, and we're sort of like, no, I want to see him do better than that. I want to see him fight someone better.
Yeah, I mean, look, we did a lot with Frank Warren back in the early days, and Barry Hearn, obviously, but Frank had a way of, matching his fighters against a lot of different journeymen, a lot of different styles, and getting them to a point, and then giving them maybe a gut check before the world title fight, and taking his time with them. I think with the advent of social media and digital, I agree with you. I think people just want these things really quickly, and I think the likes of Ben Whitaker and Fraser Clark and Karis and Lauren and Caroline and Galal, your fight, they can go quickly with them. I think with Galal, absolutely, they could put him in a world title fight very soon, but it's difficult because if he doesn't win that world title fight, then you're at that level. Lomachenko had a world title fight on his second fight, and he lost it. And of course, he was always going to become brilliant, but maybe they should just have took a little bit more time with him. It's difficult. You're going to get criticised whichever way you do it.
True.
But I think people don't want total mismatches, and it's not really fair on the journeyman fighters to have to go up, to fight the elite fighters. That's tough for them. So you want to sort of get those 75, 25, 65, 35, 60, 40s into the 50, 50s pretty quickly. So with Adam Azim, for example, we're giving him primetime television, and we're upping his level each and every time. And we'll continue to do that. But, maybe it's a Commonwealth title by the end of the year or something like that. But, he'll want to be fighting for a world title soon. It might be that one or two people have to hold him back slightly just so he gets that experience. Because when he gets there, there's no going back.
And that is it, because that the fighters, they'll take any fight that you give them. They have that keenness, and sometimes it is for the management, for the promotional companies, the broadcasters, the team to sit down and say, hold your horses, let's build you, let's not throw you straight into the fire.
And over the years and years of boxing success and failure, matchmakers have been incredibly important. And that's why Bob Arum and Frank Warren and Eddie, and they've always had the top most astute boxing people in there to advise them on this and advise them which fighters are ready to go before the others. Some are slow burners. Look at the Azim brothers. You know, one is going very quickly, the other one is going slower because, you know, Adam has the natural, you know, pizzazz and maybe confidence and ability that you think, okay, you can fast track him. And maybe if you don't do that, he'll get stale and he'll go off the boil. So it's all about, I guess they're like racehorses in a way. It's like you train them for one race, don't you? It might be the National or it might be the Gold Cup. All year you're waiting for that. And you want to make sure that on that day they're ready to go. And I think with boxing, it's like you want to make sure that at each stage they're learning. They're not just knocking someone out easily and not learning. They're learning something. They're getting a few rounds. I thought it was brilliant that Lauren and Karis both went 6 rounds for their professional debuts, but both in very different ways. You've got to chalk up that experience. I think both of them are ready for, you know, quite a major jump pretty quickly. But there'll be managers and promoters just holding back slightly and saying, hang on a minute, when they get to that level, they're all going to be big fights. So maybe just take a slight bit of time. But I think it will be quicker than it used to be.
Yeah, the impatience, you mentioned it there, the social media is very key in boxing. There's more eyes on the sport. People are checking everyone's social media, seeing what they're up to. You know, it's easy for the boxing fan, and, you know, it's quite often a comment that I detest. Oh, they're just fighting tomato cans. Journeymen are still boxers.
Of course.
Yes, of course. Some of them, you know, they may just talk up and take the shots. I get it.
They are.
But they're still getting in the ring.
They're absolutely... They are the centerpiece of domestic boxing, and in other countries as well. But in the UK, if we didn't have, back in the 90s, Nobby Nobbs with his Peter Buckleys and Brian Coleman's, and I mean, they were phenomenal. They were the Anthony Hanna, you know, they fought every other week, and maybe some every week. And they, you know, they wanted to go the distance because if they got stopped, they get that 28-day suspension. They had, you know, Brian Coleman was a lorry driver, and then he went into the ring. I mean, they had just fantastic stories, and they did well. They made careers out of it, and they taught the prospects a lot of tricks. And occasionally they upset them. So, you know, just because they've got a losing record of, you know, they won 25 and lost 240. Doesn't tell you anything.
No, we do know that because we sometimes know that the scorecards, if it goes to points, doesn't always go their way.
No.
You know, we've seen that several times. But we're going to move on to the headline of this, you know, this important card. And I say it's important because I love, and this is me being selfish, a domestic. I love a British war, which is what we're going to see with 2 fighters, 2 hungry fighters, you know, one defending the belt and another one that seems to have been put on the back burner, has disappeared off, come back after injury, has got people out there in short rounds, coming in as the underdog, going at it on Saturday night. Adam, over to you.
Yeah, it's a fabulous clash. It really is. It's a throwback where the European title really was important. And I think that Chris Billam-Smith has the hometown, you know, support, and he has the momentum, and he'll start a slight favourite going into this. However, Isaac Chamberlain is an unsung hero in this sport. He's gone through a lot, and I've known Isaac since he was sparring with the likes of Deontay Wilder and Alexander Usyk, and he was struggling to sort of get going. And, you know, I think that probably that Lawrence Okolie fight came a bit soon. He didn't really know how to handle him. It was Okolie's obviously he's a world champion and he's a top fighter. It didn't really work that night. It certainly didn't work for Isaac. And I think he's gone away and he's thought about it, and he's absolutely dedicated himself to coming back and, you know, and making sure that people realize that he's very good. And I think he's got nothing to lose here. I think he's very dangerous. And I think he's going to bring the best out in Chris Billam-Smith. I think there's going to be some pockets of fire. I think there's going to be some skills along the way. I think it's going to be a really good 12-round fight. And it's what we want. It's a great match for a main event and a cracking card underneath it and a terrific atmosphere. And I think that's a wonderful advert for the sport.
I think it is, and I think Sky Sports Boxer, you know, we all will agree to say that it is the home of the cruiserweights, that you've got in your stable, the ones that you're building, the stuff that you've done for the likes of Richard Riakporhe, really pushing him out there. Can we expect Richard to be going for a world title shot soon?
I think so. I was sort of questioning after Dion Juma whether he needed, you know, 1 or 2 more fights. But I think that the manner of victory last time out, you know, the
With
body
Turkey.
shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, against Fabio Turchi was just, he's ready. He might as well go for it. And I think it's tough at world level. There's no easy fight. Makabu might be the one because he's had a couple of southpaws. We've got the Australian team over as well in Bournemouth this week. There's options, and of course Lawrence Okoli. There's many. The Okoli Riakporhe fight, maybe that's one to build as the London rivalry. So there's many good fights to be made. There's Mikel Lawal, Dion Juma. There's loads sort of in the wings. Jordan Thompson, one of my favourite fighters over at Matchroom, and I think there's some really good cruiserweight dust-ups to come off. I love the cruiserweight division because of obviously my long friendship with Johnny and knowing the cruiserweight division. I'm a huge fan of Evander Holyfield and of Alexander Usyk and of David Hayes. So I love the cruiserweight division, and I think that you know, they've got the power and they've got the speed as well. So there's going to be some fantastic fights out there.
And we like this. We talk about the cross-promotional work. You've obviously mentioned fighters from Matchroom, Jordan Thompson, somebody that is clearly coming through the ranks now, really putting his mark, you know, getting his opponents out there early. And obviously world champion Lawrence Okoli. Lawrence Okoli, obviously, I know you watch the internet, you see all the rumours or whatever. Is Lawrence going to be coming to Sky Sports Boxer, or is that something that you can comment on or not?
Look, we don't know at the moment. I mean, at the moment, I think that Lawrence has got, I believe,
one more fight
with Matchroom, or he's with Matchroom. You know, things can change. That's not up to me. That's up to the promoters and managers, and that's where the contracts happen. Would we like to have Lawrence Okoli on Sky again? Of course we would. You know, I'd like to have a lot of fighters on Sky. We can't have everyone, and the whole point of Eddie leaving us and joining DAZN was to take that stable. So we have to rebuild. You know, one or two have sort of made their way back in different ways, and you know, we've utilised different fighters over the last sort of year. It's great to have, you know, the likes of Savannah and Tasha, and you know, we've signed some really good fighters, but also the young, you know, the new brigade of Olympians. But Lawrence is obviously a fighter we'd be interested in. He could go to heavyweight. He's a big personality. I think he's a fantastic story, you know, flipping burgers at McDonald's, coming through and doing what he's done. I think he's brilliant. And I know he's got a lot of other interests outside of boxing. So he'd be a really good personality to work with again. We had some fun with him before. We'd love to have that chance again. But I miss them all. I miss Lawrence. I miss Joshua Boazzi. I miss Conor Benn a lot. You know, they're great characters. Dalton Smith's another great fighter over there. Jordan Thompson's a friend of mine as well. So I was always talking to Eddie about him. And good for Eddie to sign him up. And I hope he goes from strength to strength. I think he's going to be really explosive in the cruiserweight division. But look, I work with Boxer. These are my fighters, and it's a business. So we work with what we've got. But there's a lot of good fighters over the other side of the fence, and also at BT, a lot of good fighters. So it's happy days for fans, and a lot of competition out there, a lot of good matches to be made, and one's happening this Saturday night in Bournemouth.
And then finally, we'll just touch on, obviously, Usyk AJ2.
I keep saying that as well.
Let's get it in the right order. Will be happening on Sky Sports, will be broadcast by yourselves. And once again, I always like to do it from a fan point of view, because I do this, but I'm a fan first. There was a point where we were sat waiting, you know, there was a rumour that, yes, it's going to be broadcast on Sky. Then it was like, okay, well, it might not be. And we were sort of like left in limbo saying, hold on a minute, it's 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out. Where are we going to be watching this fight? Because not everyone's privileged enough to go over to, you know, Saudi to watch it.
Yep.
How was that going for yourselves, and what was the delay, basically?
This is boxing. I remember when Eddie said to me a few years ago, are you sitting down? And I said, no. He said, you'll need to sit down for this. I said, what? He goes, Kel's going to fight Golovkin. And I said, you should have told me to sit down, Eddie. You know, he said, I did. Sometimes in boxing, things happen like that.
Okay.
I thought we were going to have Anthony Joshua for life on Sky, and DAZN came in. So ultimately, we lost that one, and he goes with our great wishes, of course. There was an opportunity with AJ, or Usyk AJ, as you rightfully call it, because the Saudis own the rights. There was an opportunity for us to at least enter conversations, which we did. Negotiations took time. Don't believe everything you hear out there. They're rumours. I heard Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. was all made for October the 8th about 3 weeks ago, but hasn't been announced. So look, until things are signed, they're not done. And I think the last 2 or 3 weeks, yeah, we thought we had a good chance of getting it, but obviously it's got to go through contract stages. There's lawyers, there's signatures that's needed, and especially if you're dealing with the Saudis on one side of the world, we're on another, and also when we contracted before with a Joshua fight, it would be with Matchroom. This is a new entity,
Yep.
so these things take time, and that's what was happening. It took time, and it was formalised when it was announced yesterday or the day before, and last 24 hours, and suddenly we could announce it. And literally, as soon as it was done, we announced it. So that's the reason. We're very glad we've got it. It's 3.5 weeks to go. We can't wait. It's going to be very, very exciting. We're going to put all the razzmatazz and sparkle that we always do for Sky Sports box office. It's the fight of the year, the rematch of the year, with all the questions that are going to be answered. So bring it on August 20th.
And we're looking forward to it. Big, massive fan. It's a really important match for Joshua, obviously going in there with a lot of pressure on his back. We talk about the undercard. Because it's been obviously broadcast by yourselves, we thought there would be a possibility of having some of your fighters on there, but a lot of them are from different promotional companies. Is that then something that we can expect Sky Sports to do moving forward, working with other promotional companies and bringing all of the fighters together?
I think first of all on the card, yes. I mean the Saudis have the global rights, and there's a lot of different factors, different partners involved. Obviously, Matchroom would want fighters. Usyk's team will want fighters. 258 management.
Yeah.
But I believe Ben Whitaker is going to be on the card now, so that's great. We know Ramnat Ali is and Callum Smith. It's a great night. Philip Hergovich. Going to be fantastic names on that card. But we're always open with working with different people. We've got 2 different promoters, Ben Shalom here and Top Rank with Todd DeBerth, Brad Jacobs, and everyone in the States, and that's fantastic. Top Rank have provided us with incredible global action, and Ben and Boxer have really started up. They've been absolutely fantastic. They put on really good shows, signed great fighters in a very short space of time. They're innovative. They're fun to work with. With them, they've worked with Wasserman. They've worked with Dimitri Salita. They've worked with Mick Hennessy. So I think there's lots of ways. We're going to be back working with Eddie and Frank in the desert, on a show together. So yeah, this business is small. I was working on the Fury White fight because Top Rank were working on it, and Sky Sports News are involved in pretty much everything. So it is a small business. We're going to cross over. So the best thing is that fighters are getting great money at the moment, and after the COVID pandemic, that's what they need, and long may that continue. And fans are getting hugely competitive fights and a plethora of them on all sorts of different channels. So it's great.
And that's what we like to hear. Thank you so much for your time, Adam.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure speaking to you.
We are the last.
With the Sunset crew.
There's 2 security people here. Everything finished about 3 hours ago, and it's time to go and get some food.
Hi, and thank you for watching October Red Boxing. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications. You can also find us on Instagram at October Red Boxing and on Twitter, October Red UK. And remember, at October Red, we stay ready.